Hello, everybody. Thank you for watching. My name is Pedro Silva from OPCO, a training and consultancy firm in Portugal, specialized in the automotive industry. The objective for this video is to introduce you what a group of companies specialized in the automotive industry are starting to prepare and to introduce to the market. From our side, OPCO, we work in Portugal with some projects also abroad. We work mainly with the IATF, either training, auditor qualification, internal audits. The same with VDA. We are a licensee from VDA QMC for Portugal, and we have the opportunity to work with most of the OEMs and tier-end suppliers here in our country, either with training, consultancy, and internal audits. I'll hand over now to ANDRÁS from Hungary. Hello, ANDRÁS.
Hello, Pedro. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity being here. My name is ANDRÁS VIKTOR SZABO. I am the Managing Director of QFD Engineering Consulting Office. Similarly to OPCO, we are a licensee of VDA QMC in Hungary and in 5 additional countries. About my background, I'm a car mechanical engineer and quality assurance engineer. Spent many years in the automotive at quality engineer and quality manager. And I spent also 15 years as an IATF 16949 certification auditor. I worked for the biggest certification bodies worldwide. And well, when I finished with certification audits, I joined SMMT, which is one of the oversight offices of IATF. And now I conduct IATF fitness audits as an external resource. And in the meantime, almost 20 years ago, I founded my consulting and training company and work also as an active trainer and consultant, mainly in the automotive. And since 2011, I am a VDA QMC trainer as well for different topics. And now I pass the mic to my colleague Werner.
Thank you to OPCO for sharing this meeting. I'm originally a machine fitter and starting in 1994 my own business before I was working in the automotive industry as a quality manager. I'm working as a consultant, as a trainer, and as long-term as a certification auditor as well. Main field of my activities is organization and personal development, so looking from quality management from the opposite side of the human factor. 2001, I started my business in Romania, and as my colleagues, I'm a licensee partner for the German automotive industry with our own training center close to Sibiu in the middle of Romania. So far from my side, and the pass goes back to Pedro.
Thank you, Werner. Now also here from our office to introduce our colleagues that will support us during the question and answers at the end of the session. And go over to Vânia and then to Rui.
Hello to everyone. My name is Vânia Azevedo. I'm from OPCO team since 2016. Now I'm working with PCO as a VDA trainer, VDA 6.3, IATF 6.5, PSCR, and other teams. Before I work in the automotive industry as a tier 1 of several OEMs plants, and a little before OPCO, I'm working in aerospace industry also. Then I pass to my colleague Rui Aguiar.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rui Aguiar. I am a trainer and a consultant for PCO for the last 2 years, basically for some quality tools and some production and improvement tools. I have been working since I am a mechanical engineer. I've worked in Ford and VW as a process and prove-out engineer, and then afterwards I went to Peugeot as a service manager. After that, I started to give some training on these areas, and then I went to Embraer as a quality manager for the plant here in Portugal for aerospace. And then I was there until 2017, 2018, and then I started with OPCO, working full-time with them. And it has been so far so good, no problems. I'm very happy.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be not only with my colleagues, but also with my colleagues on the VDA QMC licensee team with ANDRÁS and WERNER. I will share just a couple of slides just to give the overall context of what is bringing us to this point. So passing to the slides, and I believe everybody knows this sentence, the change, it's not the stronger or the most intelligent that survives, it's the one that is most responsive to change. And whatever better word can we have to define nowadays, not only with the change that we were getting to be used to in terms of new technologies, new concepts of mobility, but also now with the pandemic, with the COVID-19, introducing other changes. Most of them not as beneficial, but some of them brought us to what we will be speaking here today. Some topics that we will be speaking today: education. So education, and one of the situations that this pandemic brought was online activities. So one of the topics that we have been talking is precisely regarding education, online training, synchronous training, or completely asynchronous training, e-learning. Some other topics, also the new technologies, new communication channels, new platforms like the ones that we are using to do these videos, like the ones that we are using to broadcast these videos to our customers and our friends. And since we start talking with other players in other countries, we are aiming to get a global reach. Nowadays, we are in Portugal, ANDRÁS in Hungary, WERNER in Germany and Romania, but all of us, as ANDRÁS mentioned, all of us had already projects all over the world. Now, some of them online, before that in presence, and we trust that very soon the physical presence, the on-site presence will be back again. So that was basically what brought us to these situations, and to bring a set of companies back into these conversations. I will explain a little bit better what brought us here, what made that these companies are talking together. So I will leave now the slides and come back to a verbal exposition to explain a little bit in more detail what we are going to do in the near future. So after this short context, this short introduction, one of the topics that we start talking among these companies, apart from the e-learning, apart from the blended learning that in a short moment ANDRÁS and WERNER will explore, one of the topics that we start identifying as common interests, common objectives, was the summit. For our customers and friends here in Portugal, you knew already last year, 2019, we had the opportunity to welcome more than 220 people in Aveiro, a city north of Portugal where most of the automotive industry is located. It was extremely interesting from the people that joined, from the sharing of the knowledge of that people. The year before, in 2018, we had the honor to be invited by VDA QMC to co-host here in Portugal as well, in Porto, what the VDA calls the regional conferences. That happened already also with ANDRÁS and in other countries. And also on that situation, different context, but we had also a very interesting participation in the city of Porto. So this was one of the topics that we start identifying as common objectives and common interests from these companies. One of the situations that we want and promote in these situations is mostly our motto, sharing knowledge. I'm not talking about our knowledge, I'm talking about everybody's knowledge. We are there mainly also to learn, and for that reason, we invite people from different countries, from different experiences, from different cultures, to come, to get together, and also on that networking activity to share their knowledge. This is one of the most important topics for us. Another topic, most important, is the people engagement, people involvement on these activities. And also, this year, the summit was online due to what you all know with the COVID. But on the last 2 years, it was extremely interesting to see people meeting. Sometimes people that don't see each other for several years, or that used to be colleagues or used to be college colleagues and don't see each other for a long time, and then meet again in these events. And their experiences and the experience they share, it's one of the most rich points in this type of events. Also, of course, we try to bring the main players from the industry. Last year, we had people from VDA QMC, from ODET, from SMMT, from one certification body. This year, we had people from different locations. We had people talking about CQIs from AAG and other subjects. So to join the several levels of the supply chain, put together the OEMs and the tier ones or tier Ns talking in the same round table, to bring not only the OEMs and tier ones, but also suppliers of tooling, suppliers of equipment, other players, training companies, universities, certification bodies, and bring everybody together is also one of our objectives. And for that, we count also with the support of the Portuguese automotive cluster Mobinov. So these were the main topics. And then COVID came along. So we found ourselves confined at home. Most of us catching up some work that we had in delay, of course, but also a lot of us, or all of us, having the experience or a deeper experience with Zoom, with Teams, with the informatic platforms. So that's why this came as a natural contact. Start contacting some friends abroad. How were they doing? If they were well, with health, most important, but then how they were leading with the pandemic in their business. And that's when we start talking and making regular meetings. Those meetings have evolved for something bigger. We just need to find still a name for the organization, but the ideas are already there. And all these topics that we identified as common topics, all the situations that we brought together with another company that is not possible to be here today, with Encona from South Africa, from the US, and from Germany, and the experience they have already with the e-learning that they are exploring already for several years. And of course, also this summit. So one of the news, one of the breaking news we want to provide is our intent for the 3 companies that are here, and most probably with some other more in the near future, to promote an international summit. Most probably it will have to be also online because of the distances, but maybe we can combine that also with on-site activities in our countries. And talking with ANDRÁS, with WERNER, we found it would be too soon to do it this year, but our intent is to come along with something during the first semester. I know it's a wide period of time, but during the first semester of 2021 to come up with this international summit. And then, of course, the principles will be about the same: to share the knowledge, to bring people together, to share the opinions, the cultures. And another thing that I am sure that will come up as well is the identification of further synergies. I'll give a simple example. Also because of this pandemic, a project that we had with a customer, with a plant in Poland that we used to follow. This year, with the pandemic, it's at least risky to start planning trips and activities across borders. So why not contact local colleagues to do that for us? So why not, and we have seen already some suggestions like that, we work for automotive industry, global players, and maybe the OEM working in Hungary as Portuguese or Romanian suppliers. Why not to support them? Why not to share our global reach, not alone, but all together to explore those synergies? Well, I would say that starting with this Automotive Summit at international level is one of the first news that we want to give you today. But I would like now to pass to ANDRÁS, and ANDRÁS will talk a little bit about the e-learning activities that is developing already on himself, on QFD, but also with some other colleagues of us. ANDRÁS, pass over to you.
Thank you very much, PEDRO. Well, I would just comment also your thoughts about the COVID-19 situation and the very first slide what you showed, and where you spoke about the changes and how we should react, and the changes that we should react on them quickly. And actually, we already have seen a lot of changes in the automotive during the last years, and we can say that the only continual thing was the change. But this change or changes motivated us to adopt new learning methods, and also e-learning, blended learning, and so on. But the COVID-19 situation was actually, I would say, a bomb which accelerated this process, and everything what we did before, or what we planned before, became immediately a must, and we needed to do it immediately. And well, as I know, all of our organizations involved in this project, we are working quite hard on it. What we do, or what we did in the past, we already, of course, recognized what the standard requires regarding to competencies, organizational knowledge, and so on. Of course, we were involved in a lot of projects where we supported different organizations in developing their management systems, where, of course, we on one side we teach them that to achieve their organizational goals, of course, they need to identify the competencies on all levels of the organization. They need to provide those competencies and so on. And we also recognized often that sometimes organizations don't do it, or they do it but not effectively enough. As I said, in the last years, there were a lot of changes in the automotive. There are still changes and so on. What we see is that the amount of necessary knowledge and competence increased a lot, but the time what people have decreased a lot. So you have much more topics to learn, but a much shorter time to learn it, and you can see it on all levels of the organization. If you have a look on the management level within an organization, the amount of information what a manager should process, not necessarily, of course, the managers don't need to know everything in that depth than the lower levels, the middle levels, but of course they need to know all about these topics. But there are a lot of topics what they have to get in a very short time. If you go to the engineering level or the middle manager level, you see that the number of topics is the same, but they need to get much more deeper knowledge and information about these topics. And also, if you go to the shop floor and you have a look on the information what the shop floor worker needs, then you see, at least we have seen in a lot of cases, but that on that level, maybe they don't need to know this amount of topics, they don't need to get this amount of trainings. But on the shop floor, you still have a need to have quick and effective trainings, sometimes because of the fluctuation. Because on the shop floor you have a higher fluctuation, and that's why you have to train new people again and again and again. And we recognized before the pandemic situation that e-learning could be a very good solution for that. For different topics, you can use e-learning very effectively. And what is important, not only on the middle and top management level, but you can go down to the shop floor and you can train a worker also. In many cases, if we come to an organization, we decide we can help you, we can provide you solutions also for your shop floor workers and so on. They say, well, or people don't have access to computers, they don't have an account and so on. But this is not a problem with e-learning anymore, or at least not with that platform what we are using, what we are working on, because everybody has a smartphone today, and they can easily access on their smartphones without any problem. So what the thing what organizations have to consider is the competence management and the system what they have for competence management. And if they have a robust competence management system where you identify who should know what and how these competencies will be transferred to them, that's a first step. Then the first step is already done. If they can also measure if these activities, what they do, are effective enough, and if not, they can react on that. That's the second step. And finally, they have to think about the efficiency as well. So all this competence management system should work in an efficient way, because automotive is about money, as you know. So and that was actually the trigger why we started to work on this project. Of course, we have seen the necessity of e-learning earlier, but now we consider this as a quite big topic and a combined question, and we try to answer all these questions one by one. How you can fulfill the standard requirements, how you can develop a robust competence management system which supports the organization to achieve its goals, and how you can provide the necessary methods and the necessary ways of learning and teaching. This is actually what we are working on. You know, or at least my colleagues know, that in the last years we also developed software, a kind of management system support software, and one of its functions is the competence management. So we already prepared quite good support tool for organizations, which helps to identify the competence needs on the different levels of the organization. It helps to identify the gaps within the competences within the organization, and to plan the way how people became competent in the different topics. And what we are working on right now is to integrate an LMS, a learning management system, into this existing software, to have everything in one package, and then you can have the structured way of identification and identification of competency gaps, and planning of the different necessary actions. It is not necessarily a training, it can be something else as well. And finally, if you decide that this is a training what you need, then you can choose from the different options, if it should be an on-site training or an e-learning, or maybe a coaching. Werner is an expert in coaching, or maybe a blended training where you mix the different options. And how we came with this idea to this association, how we call it right now as a digital association, because we already also recognized that even if we are one of the biggest companies in our region regarding to trainings and consultancy, and we are in contact with almost all automotive companies, not only in Hungary but in our territory, I would call it, where we are the licensee of Video QMC. This is the so-called West Balkanic countries: Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia, Macedonia, and Bosnia. We are still not big enough if we are thinking about resources and knowledge and so on. And what we can do within this association, what we recognize, if we combine our resources or knowledge, then we can go further, and we can reach much more organizations. We can have a global reach, but this is only one question. We can have this global reach by our global experience, because now with OPCO and VSQR and NCONA, actually we cover almost all countries in the world. So our experts speak almost all languages, so we at least the biggest languages. I wouldn't say that Hungarian language is one of the biggest languages, even if we have worldwide a lot of Hungarian speaking people, but by our existence in the West Balkanic countries, we cover also the Slavic languages, for example, as OPCO covers the Portugal language and the Spanish language, WERNER the German and Romanian language, and NCONA also, they even speak Chinese, because they are present in Taiwan and so on. So this is a huge advantage what we can use by this global experience. And on the other hand, in each of these companies, we have a lot of subject matter experts, not only because of the licensee rights or situations of VDA QMC, but because of the organizations itself and the owners of these organizations. We have a quite high standard for our colleagues, for our trainers, for our consultants, and so on. All of them were former managers at big companies, or they are still managers at different big companies and working as a second job. And if we again can combine this huge knowledge and experience, we can really reach these objectives to offer something on the market what is unique and what is really something what the market need. And if we can offer it in a way that companies can consume and where they can recognize the effectiveness and the efficiency, then it will be a quite good solution, I think. So this is how we see it. Sooner or later, of course, you will find our products. I would say sooner, because we are working already on some topics, some hot topics, I would say. You know that especially in the German automotive, there are some deadlines at the end of this year, so we have to bring those topics onto the market. So sooner or later you will get the information, and you will see how it works. What would say what beautiful solutions there are in the e-learning platform what we will use. So that is, I think, from my side. Thank you very much. Werner.
Thank you very much, András. I would pass now to Werner. Werner will share a little about his coaching and blended learning abilities and what the future will bring us.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Let's start with this from my side. So what we are doing is state of the art. It's networking. We are using our competences in a global world and pushed and pulled everything in one time by this COVID-19 situation. I guess this is the driver behind all our activities in the end. Yeah? And I see an advantage that the situation, we are taking the situation and we are doing the best things for our customers and for ourselves. What is from my side to say is there is currently no other solution for the blended learning system. There are several reasons existing for, but the main reason is human being. We can do a lot of things in electronic way. We are using every day a smartphone. We are using now this video conference to doing things. We are starting the digitalization processes in the companies, automotive or in other industrial fields. Over is the process of digitalization running. And one of the things I take care is, or have a special look on, is how and what this makes with the humans. It is easy saying for the younger generations, hey, it's no problem, we use a computer, we use the software, but we have not only a young generation, we have several generations in the working processes. And it changes us on the human side, but that by the learning process taking care about the social competence. This is the point where I'm looking from. We have technical social systems implemented in the company. This is since a long time. We're doing this. We are starting with the 9001 and later on becoming the special requirements in the automotive industry, starting with 6.1 and later on with 6.4 for the machining and 6.2 for the service. And then we are transferred in ISO-TS, and now we are in the IOTF, and we have customer-specific requirements. But all those things, in the end, is to handle by humans. So this is what I'm looking for the future, that this blending learning system will become more professional. More professional for me means that we will work on the quality of our digital part, but as well we have to train ourselves as trainers, in these train-the-trainers and in workshops to use our social competences and develop them. As an example, I can say we're doing in Romania since 11 years now, the SILVA Quality Days. And I start from the beginning. As an example, 11 years ago, I started with workshops, which was not state of the art in this time. What means it was not somebody staying in front as a trainer putting a lot of slides on the wall, so we make it interactive and the people can bring her experience in. We ask them for her experience. We challenge them by working together. And this is, for me, in the future as well necessary. This is what I mean with blended learning, to using all the technical options to transfer knowledge. And at the same time, we have to take care about that people also developing social competence. As example, you can say if you make, as we know it for the automotive industry, you make process analysis and you're optimizing processes, we're using the turtle diagram. As example, what I'm doing if I'm working as a coach, as a quality coach, I bring the process owner together. We are printing out the turtle diagram, and as example, I'm doing with them what I call interface turtling. So that means they have to talk to each other. What means my output and what is your input, and they have to talk to each other. So that means they are sitting face to face and exchanging what is my need, and the other one is telling him what I'm shipping you. So, and this is to solve on the human level. It's not just something what you can putting on the computer. This is to God. This is for me a part of blended learning. And that brings another point, which is for me important, is the communication. So we have a global world. So if we speak now English language, so we are all able to speak it, but it's not clear if we do not communicate what is the message received on the opposite side, because we have filtered this with culture, with our how we are educated. What is my understanding? What is your understanding? It will become in the blended learning system for a special point that we have interactive things where we're bringing people from different cultures, a different background of knowledge together to become a common understanding. So we noticed, I was 20 years a certification auditor. If I think about situations when you come in the same company, you're traveling in 4 countries and you have 5 opinions about one requirement. So this is what I mean. It needs this kind of communication. There's, of course, blended learning system, something for the future. I say, yes, beside all technical things we have to take in care by using workshops, digital and on-site, to bring people together, verifying the understanding. So in written form, we know this from the past, and it is ongoing a topic, a process. A flow chart is not the complete message. The question is what the people understand and how we teach them in the way to be a coach, that they can understand and develop it by his own. One thing is for me an important point insofar that I say every human has experience. The question for me is in a blended learning system, how we are offering as trainers the opportunity that he bring his experience in. And that means we have to encourage them that they do it. And because in the past I was not asked for, now they are asked for, and I have this challenge in countries like in Romania, where the education system is a completely different one. It is something, as a trainer, if you do so, you have to motivate the people to make his input. They do it to build the atmosphere. That's things in the blended learning system where I see the advantages, because one part will be for the next time will be important one is if this what I on-site meeting where people coming together. Under the circumstances of COVID, it will be ongoing a challenge how to build the how to respect the circumstances that we can create an environment where personal meetings are possible. This is for me something I see important task for us for the future. Insofar to our plan to doing this international summit, totally agree from the beginning that the experience what ANDRÁS has in Hungary, you have the experience in Portugal, I have the experience in Romania. Putting together with our colleagues from ANDRÁS for an international summit, I think it's a great opportunity, and under the circumstances, much more necessary than maybe 1 year ago. We have talked about a different way 1 year ago. Now we have a pressure and we have a need. And so far, I would say yes. Let's do it and respect in this way, if we do international summit as well, the blended learning system. It's something what we can do for the development of the industrial society, but well for the human society. So far from my side. Back to you, Pedro. May you make your micro on.
Thank you, Werner. I believe we had some frozen images in the middle, but I'm sure that the message passed. Thank you, Werner. Thank you, ANDRÁS. I would hand over now to Vânia and Rui. As trainers, as auditors, as trainees, many times, what type of questions or what type of comments did these presentations brought to you?
I think I can start, Rui, if you agree.
No problem.
Ladies first. This is a question for ANDRÁS, but I think Pedro and Wagner can also make a comment. As you told you, in your as a pillar of the companies, the competence managing system, do you think that in nowadays is more and more effective in the companies? You see more and more old companies in different countries are more sensitive to give the right knowledge to everyone in the company?
Yes and no. So I see really a lot of companies with different solutions. I think that the market leader companies already recognize that to keep the competent people is always much more cheaper, much more efficient than to train again new people. So they focus really on human resource management, I would say. So they try to find a way to choose the good people, to qualify them to reach the necessary competence, and then to keep them. But it is not a general observation. I see a lot of companies, a lot of organizations who don't really focus on that, and there is a huge fluctuation. Sometimes because of the lack of human resource management, sometimes because of motivation packages, because they think that they can save a lot of money if they don't really pay or motivate their employees. But finally, it will be much more expensive if they work with not competent people, if they have to train them again because of the fluctuation and so on. But this is, I would say, this is a strategy. So the organization has to define what strategy they follow. This is, of course, a calculation, a decision, and so on. But in my opinion, according to my experience, organizations from the first group are finally not only more effective, but only more efficient.
Yes. Yes, Werner, please.
Yeah, I think it starts a little bit earlier, because it's with the eyes of an organization developer, and it needs at first a clarification and common understanding in the company, especially in the HR departments, because this is the leading process in so far to have competences in the company. So it means it's in so far a must to have a common understanding, but from what we are talking if we're talking about a competence management system. If you look more precise, then it starts a little bit before, because if I want a competence management system, I have to have an understanding about from what we are talking, if we're talking about necessary competences in my company. Mm-hmm. And what is the reference point for my competences? So that means I have to have an idea about where the technical development will go. I talk about technical competences. In the same time, we have to talk about where we have to have a look on. We talk about technical things, because what type of social competence we need. Because the organization structure, the processes will change, the influence of software and machine will increase. It will challenge the people in a completely different way. And so far, for me, a competence management system is a complex system insofar that I see the risk, if especially there is no common understanding worked out. Yeah, you can lose quickly. A lot of time means in the end a lot of money, because you're doing the things 2 times, 3 times, you're running in a direction and you do finally reaching your needs. It could be a high risk for a company in relation to the shorter going time that we have to develop a company to make them fit for the future.
I don't know if Pedro...
Let me answer you as an auditor. Sometimes when asking about training and about training effectiveness evaluation, the auditors just show pages and pages signed off. And when we ask about the effectiveness evaluation, they show also a page signed off by the supervisor 6 months after the training. So sometimes I ask myself, what is the objective of the training? To have records or to have knowledge applied on the shop floor, on the engineering offices, and so on? Sometimes it seems that people do the things for the auditor to see and not for the company to get a return on that. Sometimes not as an auditor, but as a trainer or consultancy. And you know, and we the same, we ask what has been the return for the company regarding this training. And many times people don't connect things. So I think there is still a gap. It's getting smaller, but it exists still a gap in between providing the training and knowing exactly what is the objective. And for sure, we need the records, that's clear, but for sure that the objective is not to have nice signed off records, but yes, to get a return on investment, or as we sometimes use, a return on knowledge for the company.
Like the output of the training, but also another question can be to Pedro, Wegner, and András. András mentioned also about top management of the companies. In your opinion, you think more and more they are more knowledge about quality, about IATF, PSR, and so on. You think that the plant director is more sensitive to those requirements? They don't know exactly the standard, but they know what is needed in the whole team to get to fulfill those requirements, or even customer requirements. You feel they have more knowledge nowadays, or we still have a big gap between quality engineering and top management?
It used to be worse, but there is still a lot of things to be done. I'll give you an example with something that is typical from the management review. Also, again, as auditor, asking, how do you manage your system? And then they bring, in some cases, like what I call a romance or a novel, a big file full of written with huge sentences and so on. Some others, no, they have a PowerPoint, but again, it's something that is tailored against the requirements from 9.3, those inputs in the index, and that's it. It's a management system. As a quality professional, I don't like the word quality. I prefer to call it just a management system. So whatever they are doing to manage their company, and if their company is successful, for sure that they are addressing those topics. Okay, you may say that one input or the other might not be exactly like that, but if we look for sure that they do that. But people is still formatted as it used to be with those inputs in this order with these outputs. No, let's see what we do to manage a company. Let's cross-check that with the standard in the end. And if something is missing, let's address that. But the important is the return. The important is the value brought to the company.
The output.
May I comment it?
Yes, for sure, András.
Yeah. So actually, what I always ask if I had such a training for managers, ITF training, my very first question is always what is about ITF, what is about this standard, and normally they cannot really answer. They say, well, this is a management system, we have to write procedures and so on, but actually it is about money. So that's simple. Automotive is about money. It's a business. So there is nothing else in the standard what a normal automotive company should do to earn money. And once when the managers understand it, then they will hear for that. Okay, what is about this standard? Okay, this section is for that. Okay, I understand now. But guess how many top managers, plant managers, factory managers, or top managers are trained in the last 9 years since I am a video QMC trainer. They have such a course, ITF 16949 for executives. I had a lot of such courses, but guess how many top manager participated? I trained about, I don't know, maybe 150 people. Guess how many top manager participated?
None.
No one.
Well, it's a bit better. Maybe 5 or 10, maximum 10.
Maximum. Yeah.
Maximum 10 from 150. So I think there is still a common understanding problem, but it is getting better and better. I would say we have better opportunity, even if sometimes it's not a very lucky situation. We consult a lot of companies which are under customer sanction, which are in escalation processes, new business hold and such things. And then that project, the top management is involved, and then we have the opportunity to tell them what is about this, and then it's getting better, but not during the normal trainings, I would say.
I don't think so that we can catch the top management by trainings. So we have some requirements. We're doing some steps. With the update of the ITF from DS to ITF, doing some steps. We have requirements now also for the financial things, where if I look at from the point of a certification auditor or looking from the point of an internal auditor, I have options by requesting things which are requested by the standard, but I think not that this will be bringing the access in the end. I'm more on the way that ANDRÁS says, a good one. In the end, we're talking about money, and that means from the point as an auditor, I have to have the right questions for. So I could not come with the argumentation there is a standard and in chapter 5 there is something required. No, this is where I say now I'm back to soft skills, develop auditors, to make them capable to face as well on eye-to-eye level the top management with the right questions. So I'm agree, András. I remember one course in the company was an internal course where they're bringing 20 site manager, general manager, and the top management together. It was one of the interesting daily courses I ever have, because I have a chance to talking with 20 top managers about requirements from the IATF, and believe me, the relation in the debate over the whole day about the request or the requirement of the standard was the smallest part. The bigger part was really to have a debate with them, to face them, to become a common understanding what does this standard mean and what is the advantage for me from the point of view as a manager. How can I use this to lead my site, to lead my company? That's an interesting question. And what is my benefit in euros or in US dollars or whatever the currency is? That's the important point. Nothing else. In this way, I think there is some space for improvement. We're doing some steps, but with the argumentation of technical requirements from a standard, you couldn't get access to top management, for sure not.
Hey, thank you. So maybe now Rui with some questions.
Yes, I have one or two. I have the questions can be for the three of you together, so you can answer when you like. First has to do with the difficulties that we are now having because of this COVID-19 situation, that we are making a lot of online training instead of on-site, let's say, training. How could we overcome these difficulties when we have some courses which should have some group dynamics, and I'm having sometimes some problems. I mean, how do I explain when I have to motivate the people, when I have to put my hands on the dirty, okay, to explain how to do it, not only to explain, but to show how to do it. Sometimes it's very difficult when we are separated and we are only seeing ourselves on the screen. What kind of advices and solutions do you think we should have on this kind of situations?
Good question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Werner, András.
Yeah. Well,
Let's start, Werner. Let's start.
Yes.
Well, one thing you could not replace is the presence of people in the room. So the access is a completely different if you have people in the room, because you can realize the vibrations of people. You can analyze the human skills. All those things have just limited if you do it online. One thing I learned is helpful if you do online trainings to agree from the beginning conditions. So, for example, switch on, switch off the camera. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Because you have specialists online training, they switch off the camera, whatever they are doing, you will never know it. So that means we have to learn as trainers that we need different conditions to be successful in the trainings. And these things have to be agreed with the people. Some conditions you can set up, but my recommendation is you're developing these trainings online. We are missing insofar the human presence in the room, and we have to find something which replaces this. It will never be the same. But it could be not the argumentation to say now it is online and we could not do this because people are not here. We can do other things. Yeah? And there is a development for us as a trainer to learn to handle technical systems like the video conference, like the whiteboard, like a questionnaire board, to install training rooms in VIKTOR, that they have to do something. This is something what I learned in the workshops. I have not done a lot of workshops until now online, because I also have my blocking points where I say, something to learn from me. The younger generation take it more easy. Maybe I'm thinking too much about how to do this, how to do this. But in the end, it is the structure and the conditions of the trainings which we have set up to keep the people in the game. And it means also interactivity in the virtual trainings is necessary because that keeps the people in the game. Just to have a presentation, it's the same thing like in the past. If there are one of us being in front and then you have 3 days and you're putting 250 slides in 3 days. So after 1 day, the first one is falling with the head on the table and the rest survive, however, including the trainer. So in this way, the trainer is for me a point. I started 10 years ago in Romania doing train the trainer, to learning something about group dynamic, to learning to find out what is my player who is the aggressive one, what is the smart one, what is the one who comes from the back door. You have to identify your players. So it was one of the first steps I do as I start train the trainer. And in the same in the same direction it must go if we're developing ourselves as a trainer, as well in the international content, especially in the international content. What skills does a trainer need if he works in an international training? We're doing training in English language, have people from all over the world. If you have no condition and no structure and you're not spending the attention, then you will be more trained than the people are trained for you. Because they show you, this is like children, so I always say. So if we are teaching adults, it is like teaching children. The people are bigger and some of them, like PEDRO, have hair on the face. So means as a trainer, you have to teach them to set up, to keep the rules, and that's it for me. This is the challenge for us trainers.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my comment is very similar. We had also a lot of online trainings. We learned a lot. Actually, when we had this quarantine situation at the end of March, my first thing was to search for some online courses to learn how to manage such online courses and how to manage all this situation, because this is on one hand, of course, the online courses and or trainings and so on, but of course we needed to manage our business in a very similar way, because we all stayed at home in home office and so on. So I see the difficulties, but and it was a huge challenge to us for all of our colleagues. But on the other hand, I see also the advantages, and we learned a lot. We know at this time already, so now we know what to do and how to do to conduct an effective distance training, even if it won't be so effective as an on-site training, of course. So it has always its limitation, but there are beautiful tools. Even this tool what we use now, or the other one from Microsoft, all these tools have the options how you can form classrooms, how you can force people to work together, and so on. So it's I think if not the same like on-site courses, but we can keep it on a quite good quality, quite good level.
Thank you very much. I've been told that we are on our time. Let me thank you for your participation, Werner and András, Rui and Vanya as well, for your questions. It has been a pleasure to be here and to host you this time, and I'm sure that the next time during 2021 will be already a common hosting, and with a online or on-site summit, and as well as with further developments with the e-learning contents and the blended learning contents. Thank you very much. The video will be public in the YouTube channel and other channels. I would like also to invite people who see this video to leave a comment or to leave a question that the three of us somehow we will get a way to provide an answer. Also, Vani and Rui, I'm sure that you would have more questions, so you can be the first to put some questions and then also to support us on replying to that. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
We'll keep in
Thanks a
contact.
lot. Have a successful meeting. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.